With the 10-day countdown for Dokkan Battle's 10th anniversary, we did actually get a very nice surprise for us, and that is a very well updated select character Dragonstone shop, right? That's available, the Red Dragonstone shop as we call it. And again, as a newer player, you know, this was actually another thing that happened very recently, but you're able to select any character that's available in the shop for free with the Red Dragonstone. We got 3 of them in the actual, you know, login up bonus that's available and will be available for the rest of the anniversary. But they provided a major upgrade that we have not seen before. Not only, you know, are they just highlighting the anniversary characters up to year 5, right? Which, you know, this is pretty cool in itself, right? They also have 101 total characters in the shop when usually it's like, what, 20, 30 at best. And if you take a look here, it's every single character that released from the 5-year anniversary Blue Fusions. You know, you can even see all these other Yellow Corner Lars. You know, starting from the original Dokkan Festival STR Broly. So that is really insane that we're getting all these characters available. You know, for older players even, it will allow you to select characters you're missing, but I think this video is mostly for newer players, helping you guys decide what are the best characters to go ahead and choose. And we're not really gonna waste time, we're gonna go into it. And just so you guys know, you know, right before, you do have until March 13th right here highlighted to go ahead and pick these characters. So you can wait, you could wait basically almost a 2-month time frame to see if your opinion changed, or if you maybe even summon any of these characters on any of the featured banners. It's possible that, you know, like these 2 characters could be featured on the anniversary banners as they were previous anniversary units. And then maybe you get them and you're like, okay, well now I have another character I could select rather than having wasted them, quote unquote, on these characters. So regardless, we're going to talk about every single one of them as if, you know, you may not know their kit, you know, just from a newer player standpoint. But we're going to go ahead and start things off with the 5-year Blue Fusions again. Now, all these characters just start off as fully Z Awakened or Dokkan Awakened, so that's really good. You would need to, you know, raise their super attack level, but that's really it. Now, these characters also do have to be Easy 8, unfortunately, to be usable, and that's going to be the same pretty much with every character that's on this list, just because they are very old characters. I mean, these are characters that came out 5 years ago or earlier, so at this point, they would need their Extreme Z Awakenings. Now, these characters did Extreme Z Awaken during the 8th anniversary, so that was 2 years ago at this point, and they are still, I would give them, they're still like okay. Right? There is situations where you do need to put them as the 3rd attacker in the turn, so they actually have the chance to dodge. Without that, they will get pretty destroyed, right? By how hard some of these newer bosses are hitting. But then when you actually get them to transform, which is, you know, by the time they come back after you put them in slot 3, they will actually be able to transform into the Super Saiyan Blue states. They do have one turn where they guaranteed evade enemies attack, right? Both of the Vegeta and the Gogeta. That is a very useful mechanic, and not many characters have that ability to just, you're guaranteed dodging every single attack the enemy throws at you. That is something that is very hard to age out, and the only way that this character will have you lose realistically is if they like don't dodge, which, you know, like it's always very dependent. Maybe they could, there's enemies that have the ability to lock your characters in place, so maybe you get locked right there. There's enemies that have the ability to remove your character's ability to dodge, and then these guys can't do anything. Now beyond that, again, since they're very old, their damage is not really good. Their just general defense without the dodge ability is also very mediocre, so they're not like doing anything crazy, especially like none of these other very new abilities and mechanics that are out. But you know, these guys are still cool. If you wanted to use them and you're like knowledgeable about how the game works, you could get away with them. Or even if you're just doing a lot of older content, these guys will still be able to help you very well. In terms of, you know, are they really good choices for the Redstone? Probably not. I think that there are quite a few characters I would prioritize above these guys. But hey, if you're a Blue Fusions fan, I'm not gonna like stop you. At the end of the day, it's a collection game, and I'm sure if you're summoning on the anniversary banners, you'll get a good enough team to clear everything else regardless. So Now we can talk about these two. These characters actually got their Extreme Z Awakenings very recently, especially, you might have noticed if you started the game anytime recently, of course. These guys got their EZAs on the 9th of December last year, so that is not barely a month old characters. Now, these two characters are actually pretty good once they transform. I think, especially the Vegeta, Goku, and Vegeta's base forms right here, like when they're just in Super Saiyan 2, are decent characters. Even then, they provide an ability to change certain type of key spheres to rainbow key spheres. They have to be in a Buu Saga team, but that ability allows your team to function very much smoothly, especially with all these LR characters, needing a bunch of ki, and these characters do want a lot of ki as well. So it is a very helpful ability to have. Super Saiyan 3 Goku, again, he's a character that kind of is built around dodge, which we talked a little bit with the blue fusions, but this character is going to be a more, I think, consistent dodging character overall, right? As along with just, in general, easier to use, more damage, things like that. This Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta, I'm honestly not a fan of his just Super Saiyan 2 form. There are situations where he'll still be fine, right? But it's really if you're able to get this Majin Vegeta transformation, like even if you just have one copy of this guy 55%, you place him in the second slot or the third slot, like as a second or third attacker in the turn. This character is not going to be taking damage. He has a total of 66% damage reduction if you give him a rainbow key sphere. Then he does have the guard ability if you get 6 key spheres. Again, as a rainbow orb changer character, he is going to have a very easy time at doing that. And he just has some pretty good stats. He'll do like a nice amount of damage, honestly, for how tanky this character is. I think he could be very important for a lot of newer players. And his transformation condition might not be as hard for you guys to get because, as potentially, of course, with, I'd say more, how do I explain it? With less duped out teams, as a newer player, you will have an easier time of doing less damage, I guess, to the boss in order for you to get this ability here. The transformation condition could be a little tough, right? You do have to be having one enemy who is above 50% HP from the third turn of this fight. But if you get these guys out, I think they'll be very useful. So these two are probably some of the highest characters on this list, I would say, to pick. So we'll keep their tabs open here and we'll just keep going down. Some of these characters are also very old EZAs that I just, again, would not recommend. This EGO Enter 13, this STR Final Form, or not Final Form Cooler, this STR Base Cooler, right? I'm so used to saying like Final Form Frieza at this point, right? And then we have the Int Future Gohan. I mean, this guy specifically on certain, like on a very specific setup, you could potentially get him to work. But at this point, I think it's not really worth it compared to especially other characters here. So I'm going to just rule these characters out completely. Unless you really like them, I don't really recommend grabbing them. These two I also rule out. And this Piccolo here as well. This EGO Gohan and Cell, and then the physical Piccolo. These are these characters that they're just too old at this point, right? They EZA'd, and even with their EZAs, I think some of the issues that they had on their release did not actually end up getting completely fixed. So yeah, I mean, this character's EZA came out pretty much, in February for Global of 2023. For GP, it was in also February, but like a few weeks prior. They're just weird with that. Again, you guys don't have to worry about like these very weird global JP differences in terms of release schedules for things like that anymore, at least for the most part. I mean, could you find some use for this guy somewhere? Yes, especially if you want to get this EGO Gohan. I mean, he's a character, if you get his condition, which, I mean, I'm gonna be real with you guys, you're not really gonna get this condition most of the time to transform him into Super Saiyan 2. His animations still look pretty good, so I wouldn't blame you if you want to get him for the collector's purpose, but we're going to be mostly talking about, hey, is this character worth getting from, gameplay standpoint, right? Again, we'll keep going down. LR Goten Gohan, not worth it. I almost said LR. The STR Namek Goku, not worth it. This Dokkan Festival Tech Trunks, not worth it at this point. Again, this Agil Zamasu, he's like okay is what I'd give him, but he's not going to be one of the top selects for you personally. Tech hit. I mean, we need a new hit card. This character is just very old at this point. We'll see, but a lot of these characters at this point, you know, have easy aid over a few years ago, even like this transforming Vegeta, this int Kid Goku. This transforming Vegeta was also awful when he came out. However, you know, I do want to say this guy, like, there is, I guess, the smallest chance they super easy him this celebration. I would assume that we're gonna get a new Dragon Ball Saga card in that Dragon Ball Saga spot, right? They basically gave us a highlight of all the characters that are going to be there. And they confirmed that there's going to be one Dragon Ball Saga, either EZA character or new card. I assume it's going to be a new card, but I mean, I guess they could super EZA this guy, right? We'll see, and that'll make him quite powerful. Now, the LR Super Saiyan 4 Goku and LR Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, they're just also old at this point. I wouldn't really expect super EZAs for them anytime soon. They could very well just be featured on some of the anniversary banners too, so definitely not characters I would go out of my way to choose unless you really want them. And honestly, we could start skipping just through some of these characters. Like at this point, like this Ajo Gogeta Physical Broly, like these characters EZA'd so long ago, and a lot of them are just not gonna be good to use anymore. Like all these characters are just like, yeah, they're just way too old. And soon we'll eventually start getting to the point where we can get to some super EZA considerations. Like here's the old like 2018 Dokkan Festival characters. Again, at this point, they're not really in mind for Super EZA. I do want to say, this AGL Super 17 is a character when he Super EZAs, he probably will just be very good regardless, because he does build up to 70% reduction already. So like having already 70% damage reduction, they might make this guy quite good. Like this AGL Super 17, keep a lookout for that guy. And then as we finally continue to scroll down, we can start getting some super EZA characters, and we'll just start from the bottom just because a lot of these characters have already gotten Super Extreme Z Awakenings, which is basically the next step in Extreme Z Awakening. STR Broly is a character that I would say is actually quite good, and he is one of the more useful characters on this list. If you do have interest in the Broly team, a lot of these Broly characters are going to become available during the 10th anniversary, the last worldwide celebration. We got a Int Legendary Super Saiyan Broly LR, we got a transforming Teq Dokkan Carnival LR Broly. So these characters will allow you to build a Broly centric team. This guy becomes again another Rainbow Orb Changer. He is able to help provide a lot of buffs to the team as well. Extreme class characters, which are villain characters, essentially you can give them potentially up to like 80% stats extra, which could be quite a lot for a supporting character. And he could just get a lot of different things with his Rainbow Orbs he collects. He builds up reduction, right? This guy could be good, I think, you know, especially for just a starting off Broly team 100%. I mean, even in endgame Broly teams, a lot of people do end up using this guy. Now, this Teq Cell is a possibility for Super EZA. That's all I want to bring up, but right now he hasn't Super EZA'd, so he's actually abysmally bad, right? That guy's not good at all. Physical Kid Buu is another, like, his support is really good, is what I'd say. But beyond that, I think that he could have some issues like surviving. However, he's better than most of the other characters on the list, so I think I will have him up here. AGL Super Saiyan 3 Dragon Fist Goku. This guy is another Super Extreme Z Awakened character. I would say that he is just like fine at this point. I mean, he's the first Super Extreme Z Awakened character, and I think that they're kind of testing things around with some of these very early ones. So I actually am gonna say probably like I'll keep him here just cause, but I don't know. Now, these two characters are also in contention for Super EZAs. I just want to bring them up. This STR Super Gogeta and this Int Super Janemba. They're actually the first anniversary characters. If they Super EZA, you could definitely keep them in consideration. I think especially this Gogeta. But for now, they're not good characters, so I will be closing them. Full Power Frieza, Int Ultimate Gohan. I think that this character is a pretty good Super EZA. if you have a villain setup like Lord Slug, you could use this guy. I would assume most people did not summon for Lord Slug though, so he might not be as of much use to you. If you do get that team in the future though, or like maybe a very strong villain team happens this year, yeah. For now though, I mean, he is still a good pick. I think in Ultimate Gohan is probably one of the better picks though in this list in general. Running him just on a full heroes team, basically a super class team, this guy is able to do a lot as long as you keep him in pretty much the third attacker slot. This character will be supporting your team. He has the ability to guard attacks. He has the ability to evade attacks, right, in his own slot as a floater character, as we call him. I think he's overall just a very like reliable character to run. I can see a lot of people get use out of this guy, even especially compared to like Kid Buu. I think this character, you know, whilst he provides more support, there could be the issue with him surviving in a lot of situations. So I think I will probably close these three just because I think like for starting players, it could be an issue really getting a lot of advantage for them compared to the other Super Easy A's that I listed. I do want to highlight this character, Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. I think he will be getting a Super Extreme Z Awakening during Saiyan Day, and this character has 80% damage reduction already, which is a very high number. Like, characters even sometimes get 70%, but 80% or 90%, like this is a huge amount. Now, obviously this guy right now, he just doesn't have the stats to, like, even with 80% reduction, he has like 50k defense. So even though he reduces all that damage, these bosses hit so hard that the defense he has left still does not cover the amount that the boss will do to him regardless. However, I think when this guy gets a Super Extreme Z Awakening, he will be useful. So that's something you can, I mean, the redstones are going to be available until the 13th. I think at that point we'll have a really good idea what this Saiyan Day character is going to be, which usually releases on the 18th, right? They usually will give teasers like probably even a week before then about the Saiyan Day character. And I think a lot of us do anticipate Daima, you know, Vegeta being a Saiyan Day character. So this would be a perfect opportunity for this guy. So you can keep a lookout for him. If you don't have him, it is probably going to be safe to grab a copy for him, honestly. Then we have Teq Beerus. I think Teq Beerus might just be the best character to grab on this list. A lot of people like this Majin Vegeta character better, but this guy, if you have him on these certain teams, I mean, Realm of Gods is getting buffs. In the celebration, we are getting the Blue Evolution Vegeta, right? That's just a character that will fit. This character basically has guard plus 60% damage reduction, and he has a pretty good stats. He is a character that will be able to hold in the slot 1 situation a lot of times, and being the first attacker in the turn can be very difficult because you need to be able to survive attacks before you even are able to attack yourself. And a lot of characters get a lot of stats after they attack, including this guy, right? But with the amount of defenses he has and he's able to get, he'll be able to survive in many more situations there than most characters. He is a supporting character, and then he has this ability which we can call a Team Protector mechanic. When you fall under 60% HP, you will lose a little bit of damage reduction, but he goes into this rage form. Now this rage form isn't going to do a lot of damage, but how the game works is the boss could usually do 1 or 2 super attacks within the same turn. That rage form does count as the same turn, so if the boss uses their once a turn super attack on you during the rage form and Beerus is invincible, when you exit that form, you'll still be in the same turn and the boss will no longer be able to super attack you. And to be honest, the most times you will die to a boss is their super attacks. Like 9 out of 10 times the reason you'll die is because a character maybe gets hit by a super attack. Maybe you have your slot 3 character get hit with a super attack and they're not equipped to survive like these major hard-hitting attacks. This Teq Beerus could completely remove that for you. I think especially as a, again, newer player, a lot of these like newer characters will be the ones that have these abilities to protect your team. But this guy is a very old character that has that built in already. So, I mean, that's pretty good, right? So, I think that this character will be very useful for a lot of different players. And even if you just use him again in your slot 3, and maybe you're running like a Blue Evolution Vegeta team, you get him during the anniversary, like a Realm of God setup, you have this guy just like moving around. He's still able to support the team, and he won't do a lot of damage, but he'll be doing a lot of surviving at the bare minimum, which I think is very important. We could talk about these two next. I mean, this Broly right here, whenever he gets an easy A, maybe he'll be good, but for now, we can't really say what this guy will do, so I'm just gonna kind of rule him out, especially since there's the existing STR one. This character, I think, very well will super easy A during the celebration, this EGL Super Vegito, but we don't know how good he's going to be. Same with the STR Gogeta. I think those two characters will very much easy A or super easy A. Like, I would be surprised if they don't, honestly. So you could keep a lookout for him, maybe save a redstone or two for him and the Gogeta. But we'll see what this guy's able to look like when he gets one. Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks is a pretty decent super easy A as well. Like, I think that they did him justice. I feel like he's probably on the lower priority compared to the other characters though. So like if you have to choose between these 5 characters, I would choose all 5 of these characters over that Gotenks. So I'm gonna go ahead and close that too. This Blue Falcon Goku is in line for an Extreme Z Awakening or a Super Extreme Z Awakening thing. There's like so many different terms. I'm sorry, y'all. Could he get one during the celebration? I think it's possible. So yeah, but that's all I can say for some of these characters. Like, it's possible for some of these characters, but yeah. And from here, I don't really expect any other of these characters to get Super Extreme Z Awakenings, and they're all pretty mediocre without them. So I would say you could just probably be safe with going with the characters that we know are going to be good, and at the bare minimum, you could also just wait and see if any of them will get one. Like this LR Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, some people think he will get into Super Extreme Z Awakening, and if that's the case, maybe he's really good. So you could wait and see what they do for him. I don't really expect any of these other LR characters to get one of those though, and in terms of how good they are right now, I think most of them aren't really worth. There's 2 characters here that I think will be actually worth getting, and that is this Teq LR Super Saiyan Broly. Again, if you're trying to build a Broly centric team, this character is going to be quite handy for you. In his normal Super Saiyan form, he can, you know, get hit really hard for sure, but once you transform him, he does the same back to your enemy, and he is a damage like a behemoth. It doesn't let me select his transform character's art, but when you get him to transform, he is a damage just monster. Like, it's unbelievable how much this guy is gonna be able to do. Like, when you use him in game, you'll see even at just like the 55% level, I think he does have a little bit of build and crit. That's the only issue with this character, is that you ideally have him with like a dupe or 2 so he can get critical hits. Now, he could very well be featured on one of the banners in terms of like the legendary summon carnival banners. He could just be placed on there, so keep a look at that, right? Then of course we do have the Broly, Chilean Lemo. This character could either be really good or just fine. I think that with a lot of Rainbow Orb Changers, you know, if he gets his 7 Key Spheres or more, he gets guaranteed dodge, and again, that's a character ability that I've been talking about, that again, many characters don't have that. It's very, like, you can count on your hands the amount of characters that just get guaranteed dodge in their kit. This character is one of the few that have that ability. Now, you would ideally have some sort of Rainbow Orb changing character around this guy. There's a lot of them now though, so I feel like you could get a lot of use out of this character, taking literally 0 damage, and he also does support, but you may need to like know how the orb field works and like how to select certain orbs at certain times in order to really get them situated, right? But as long as you're able to do that, this guy could actually be useful compared to the rest of the cast. So I mean, I guess these would be my top picks of characters that, like, I personally use most of these characters in in-game content myself. Like, if I'm trying to go into the hardest, difficult events, I would feel comfortable having most of these characters on my team. This guy is the one where I'm like a little iffy on him, but you could definitely use this guy. If you need more damage on your team, this is a character that will help out there, but especially like, I think in the most difficult content, these guys will all be good, and those are my top choices. So let me know what you guys are thinking. Maybe if you have any questions in the comments below about some other abilities for a certain character, feel free to let me know. If I don't respond, maybe someone in the community will be able to, but I'll be looking over them just because I know some of you guys may still need help. Thanks y'all for watching, of course, and I'll catch you all next time.